in the world's most destructive project are creating. Millions of indigenous peoples, forest-dependent peoples, and coastal peoples worldwide stand to be impacted by the millions and millions of tons of CO2 that are being created by this development that are driving the global climate crisis. And so we're here today as the Indigenous Environmental Network and Rainforest Action Network to support frontline community leaders that have come here to the footsteps of RBC in Vancouver during the Dirty Oil Olympics. RBC is one of the main sponsors of the Olympics. And so essentially, when we look at the corporate sponsors of these games, we understand that these games, the so-called cleanest, greenest games ever, are actually sponsored by the most dirtiest and destructive development ever in the history of mankind.
Clear cutting and destroying a piece of land that is the size of Greece. This project is contaminating the Athabasca Delta, which feeds into the community of Fort Chipewyan, which is my home community in the community of Alberta. My name is Ariel Edwin Ronde, and I belong to the Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation. And the Alberta tar sands are killing my community and killing my family. We are here to call attention to the fact that RBC cannot greenwash their name by being complicit in the 2010 Olympics, which have been the cause of displacement to many homeless people in Vancouver, as well as the largest environmental footprint and destruction that we've seen in a long time out here. So shame on RBC! Alberta tar sands. In addition to that, Royal Bank of Canada is the top financer and sponsor of the 2010 Olympics, which is infringing on the Indigenous territories of the people of the West Coast. So shame on RBC!
Shame! Shame! Shame!
So I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Melina Labukan-Massimo, who comes from the Lubicon First Nation.
Hi, thank you, Ariel. Danse, Melina Niuwapin Labukan-Massimo. I come from the Lubicon Cree First Nation. I come from the Lubicon Cree First Nation, which is one of the First Nations also being impacted by the tar sands. We're in the Peace River deposit area, which is in the western part of the tar sands. Tar sands is being taped up. How can this be in the country that you... One day I would like to have children there. But what is going to be left for me? What is going to be left for the children? What is going to be left for future generations? $14 billion has come out of their traditional territory. $14 billion, and yet the community has no running water. Bigger than the country of England, as big as Florida. People have to understand how huge this destruction is. This destruction is bigger than the country of England. We're destroying ourselves. By destroying ourselves, we destroy our land. I come from a community that still has no running water to this day. I come from a community that still has no running water to this day. Shame on Canada! Shame! How can this be in a supposed first world country that a community where $14 billion has come out of our traditional territory has no running water? How can this be, I ask the IOC, I ask RBC, how can this be? How do our human rights do not matter? How come our human rights do not matter? How can this be in the country that you call Canada? We call Turtle Island. We know that when we destroy the land, we destroy ourselves. When we destroy the land, we destroy ourselves. My family has cancers. The land is being contaminated. My dad is a traditional hunter. He finds moose. The moose are being contaminated. Last year he found 3 tumors in one of the moose. I just want people to think about that. Sit and think about it. I don't want to yell at you and harp at you. I want you to think about how we're destroying the land. Why is there no trees around? The trees give us sustenance, just like moose give us sustenance. We breathe the air, we drink the water. The water is being contaminated, we can no longer fish. The community has no place to gather. There's seismic lines all over the community, a community where my family would hunt, fish, and trap. And now there's nothing.